Hi there, Becky here from 168 Fitness. This week I'm continuing to answer your questions and help you achieve your health, fitness and weight loss goals before the summer. And I have a question this week: how to stop food cravings. Now that's an interesting one because it's not going to be easy to do, and it's not necessarily even that simple, but there are definitely a few things to think about. So what I would suggest to stop food cravings, unfortunately there's no magic button, you can't just switch them off. So it is going to take a little bit of work, and you do have to be realistic that it's maybe going to take a few weeks to get over those food cravings if you are trying to eat more healthily in order to lose weight, or just to improve your health in general, to feel more energized, or you're just trying to cut back on some of those treat foods, as we may call them. But it is possible, but it's just going to take a little bit of time to do that. It's not as easy as just, I don't want to eat that, I'm not going to eat it anymore. Sometimes it is, obviously, it's great when that happens, but a lot of the time you're sort of fighting with it a little bit. But the good thing is it is doable and you are in control of it as well. A lot of it comes down to sort of mindset, and a lot of it is in your head. So you do have control of that. Only you have control of that, really. So that's the positive thing, that you can actually take some steps. You are in control of it, and you can make some changes. So that's the first thing, really. Think about it as a mindset thing. It's not something that is ingrained in you. It's not something that cannot ever change, and we're all born with these cravings, and it's something that you've just got. And that is sometimes where people go wrong, that they say, oh, I always crave sugar. If you say that you always crave sugar, then you will always crave sugar, because you are reaffirming that to yourself. You are telling yourself that you crave sugar, and in the present tense. So you will always, it's an ongoing thing. You will always crave sugar as long as you believe that you do crave sugar. Yeah. So try and change the way you think about it. So if you once craved sugar, if you had a bit of a sweet tooth, and you always crave something sweet perhaps after dinner, that's often one of the things that clients tell me, that they always crave something sweet after sugar. Well, first of all, change the way you think about it and what you're saying about it. So stop telling yourself that you always crave sugar, for one, or tell yourself that you used to crave sugar but now you're quite happy not eating anything after dinner. Like, just change the way you think about it so that you're not sending yourself down a route and always going to live up to that statement that you're saying. So change the way you think about it, telling yourself that you don't need it. You're actually fine without it, and telling yourself that, and start to believe it. Because obviously the first night you do it, if it is the sweets, the desserts after dinner, the first time you do it, you are going to crave it. But then, as long as you can get through that first night where you don't have something after dinner, that second night's going to be even just that little bit easier to do, and the third night and the fourth night and the fifth night, and probably by the end of that week you won't even be thinking about it half as much as you were on that first night. So just start telling yourself that you don't need it, you don't want it, and then as long as you stick with that, it will get easier, definitely. So start with the mind, and then the actions to follow, and then it will work in a cycle, and you'll be able to snap yourself out of those cravings in that way. Another thing to think about is having your goal clear in your mind. So if your goal is to lose weight, if it's to fit in your favourite summer clothes, if it's a special event you've got coming up, if it's holidays, or anything that the reason why you're trying to stop these food cravings in the first place, have that focus in mind, because stopping food cravings in itself as a goal is not actually that motivating, is it? So having the holiday, or having the dress, or the goal in mind, what you want the scales to read when you step on them by whatever date, that is more motivating. Have that goal in mind, so that when you do reach for the biscuits with your cup of tea, if that's your food craving, or when you reach for whatever it is that you're craving, that you can question that, and you can think, right, will that help me achieve my goal? Will that biscuit, will that slice of cake, will whatever it is that you're craving, will that actually help you? And if the answer is no, then step away from it and don't have it, because there is no point setting these goals and then when you're consciously thinking about achieving them or not achieving them, if you're taking the wrong actions towards those goals, then you're never going to achieve it, and that's not a nice place to be. You're working hard probably in other ways, exercising, and focused on your goal in other ways, but then if you're undoing it by eating the foods that you're craving, then yeah, you're not going to achieve the goal anytime soon. So so ask yourself, will it help me achieve my goal? If the answer is no, avoid it. And then there are some things that you can do to actually help you avoid it, with some practical steps. If you usually have a biscuit with a cup of tea, then, I mean, one thing I do work with people is that if you're associating biscuits with cups of tea, and I've actually got into a little bit of a habit of this, having a cereal bar that I dunk into my coffee, and the only way I can sort of stop myself doing this is by not having the coffee, and it does sound a bit daft. But actually you're trying to break the cycle and break that habit. So you may need to have not have the cup of tea. You may need to have green tea or something where you wouldn't dunk a biscuit in that, and that's something I'm working on myself. So change the habit in some way so that you aren't craving the association thing. So whether it is the biscuits, or if you are used to having dessert after dinner, so you have dinner, clear away, have dessert straight afterwards, then try and change the behaviour so that you have your dinner and then you straight away go out for a walk, perhaps whilst we've got the nice weather and the lighter evenings. Go out for a walk, or go for a shower, or go and do something different than sitting at the table thinking about the dessert, or yeah, whatever it is. Just try and change the habit, change the behaviour so around that, so that what you're associating with when you've got those food cravings, whatever time of day it is, that you've changed your behaviour, changed the habit, and it's going to make it easier to break that habit and stop those food cravings for that particular moment or weakness that you maybe have. So there's that, and then there's also a couple of other things you can do. So one that I've always tell people is, if you're literally craving something and you get that kind of your saliva in your mouth and you can't stop thinking about it, it usually happens with sort of sweet things, that you just look at a piece of cake and you think, oh yes, and I really want it, and you can start to sort of taste it even in your mind and in your mouth and things, and you start to feel like you really want it and can't be without it. Well, chewing gum will help with that, because it will just change your kind of your thinking, and you'll be able to taste the mint in your mouth and things like that. So chewing gum is a practical one to try and overcome that kind of sensation in your mouth. And then an alternative one to that is that in the early stages, if you say with the desserts after dinner, if you're used to having a proper pudding after dinner, which is going to be quite calorific and also potentially high in fat as well, and lots of sugar, then try and swap it for something else. So if you usually have like a proper dessert, then have like a low-fat yogurt and some fresh fruit. Or if you're used to having the biscuits in the afternoon, swap it for like a rice cake or two, so that you don't feel like you're depriving yourself, and you're still having some energy if you need it in the afternoon as a snack, but it's not undoing all your hard work. It's not doing that damage if your goal is weight loss, or even just for health benefits. So doing some food swaps is good as well, because then that will change. You're changing the behaviour, and then you'll probably get to the point where you don't even want the alternative snack, because you maybe not even actually hungry, you're just craving that nice food. But as soon as you take that nice food away, unfortunately rice cakes, they're not going to taste as nice as a custard cream biscuit, so yeah, you probably not even want the rice cakes. So and that's another test actually. I always think if you're telling yourself that you're hungry, always test yourself. Would you eat an apple? And if the answer is yes, you would eat the apple, which apples are nice enough, but they're not exactly a bag of crisps or a chocolate bar. They won't exactly make you feel potentially as good as those. So if you're telling yourself you're hungry and you're reaching for a snack, and actually you wouldn't eat the apple as an alternative, then you're not actually hungry, because if you were hungry you'd eat the apple. So if you tell yourself, no, I don't fancy an apple, I wouldn't eat an apple, then don't have the snack, don't have the crisp, don't have the chocolate bar, or whatever it is that you're sort of craving at the time. So that's another thing you can do as well. And then just finally, all of this is really good, and it is possible. It sounds maybe more complicated, but I'm just giving you a few sort of things that you can do to help yourself. But the important thing as well is adhering to this and sticking with it, because if you did it maybe for a week, you avoided your vice, your thing that you are craving, but then you sort of undo that and you end up having it, then you may be if you've not done it for long enough, you're maybe going to just slip straight back into that old habit and start craving that food again. So a way to try and stop that as well is avoiding it, but also positive reinforcement of that. For all the time that you are avoiding that particular food, and you've kind of not given in to these cravings, reward yourself in some other way. So not necessarily with food, because that's like we're trying to build a good relationship with food and not think of it as sort of treats and rewards, because we're not dogs obviously, but reward yourself in some other way, like sit and watch a film, or buy yourself a magazine or new I don't know, lipstick or something like that, that just will help you feel good in other ways. So you might be missing out, feel like you're missing out by not eating chocolate or whatever it is that you're craving, but actually reward yourself with something else, so that you want to keep it going, and you want to avoid that food and not give in to those cravings, because that will feel quite nice, and it will feel more positive than sort of feeling like you're depriving yourself, which I don't want you to ever do. So yeah, think about rewarding yourself and keeping that goal in mind. They're the two key things as well. And then just as a bit of reassurance for you, if you do give in to those cravings, if you do have whatever it is that you're trying to avoid, it's not the end of the world. Draw a line under it and move on from it. Ask yourself, how did it make you feel? If you felt great from it, then you're probably going to keep on eating it. You're going to keep having those cravings, and because you're associating that feel good factor with that food, so you're probably going to keep on repeating it. It's a bit like a drug addiction, really. If you get that feeling, that buzz, that feeling, that high feeling from the drugs, you're going to keep wanting them. So that's the same with food, and obviously they have linked kind of sugar, the reaction in the brain, to the same as some drugs. So it's not too dissimilar, obviously not as harmful and not illegal. But if you're feeling good from it, you're probably going to keep going, and there's not much else that you or I can really do in simple terms, because you're reinforcing that behaviour. But if you ask yourself, you have the chocolate bar when you're trying to avoid the chocolate bar, you give in to the cravings and you eat it, and that's absolutely fine, because it's not the end of the world, it's one chocolate bar, it doesn't matter. But ask yourself, how did it make you feel? If it made you feel good, as I just said, fine, whatever. If it didn't make you feel good and you felt like, oh, I gave in, I'm not going to achieve my goal now, and like it didn't make you feel good, or you had a proper energy slump like half an hour afterwards, or it upset your stomach or something negative, like remember how you felt with that. Remember that negative feeling, even if it is just in your mind, that you felt like, oh, no, I really didn't want to eat that, I feel bad now, and make sure it doesn't happen again, because that's the worst thing, that is when you're repeating that negative behaviour. You're not going to feel good for that, and then you'll probably end up going back to the chocolate bars, or go for another fix to get you feeling good again, because it's only short-lived, that short sugar rush basically afterwards, after you have something like that. So yeah, just remember that feeling. Ask yourself, how did it make you feel? And if it wasn't a good reaction, then just make sure you don't do it again, because I don't want you to be feeling like that. Food should make you feel good. And if we're making the right choices, it should make you feel good for the fact you're making the right choices, even if it doesn't taste as nice as the chocolate cake or whatever it is that you like. But it should make you feel good for other ways. You're achieving your goals, you're doing well with that, you're eating healthily, you're giving your body the fuel it needs and deserves to keep you going, what it's going to use most efficiently to keep you energised, all of that. It should make you feel good. So In answer to the question how to stop food cravings, lots of things you can do, but the reassuring thing is that it's all within your hands and all within your mind, really. So I hope that helps, and it helps to achieve your goals over the next few weeks leading up to the summer. I'll be back next week with some more top tips.